the home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. Well. Look at what we have here. It's the whole Oklahoma. And Brent Venables, once again, making a splash in the recruiting news. Not only have they moved up in the top 10, but they've inched past Alabama and LSU. And they've even left the skittle shitters of USC behind. Linky Boy, I think, is about to look really bad and wet his diaper quite profusely. Let's talk about it. Like I said, trying to get away from doing so many Sooner videos, but this whole off season with the turmoil going on with Linky Boy, old Tebow, the one they call the bitch out west, and the fact that they can't keep their mouth off of Oklahoma, yet they want Oklahoma and their fans to keep their mouth off of them. So it makes it real easy for us to come in here and do podcasts and do a comparison and contrast with Oklahoma and USC. A lot of the Oklahoma fans have wanted me to move on from this, but I've told them, look, USC and Linky Boy make this easy. They're the ones opening their mouth. This is not a bad reflection upon Oklahoma. This is a bad reflection upon him. So we're going to have continued coverage of Brent Venables and the Boomer Sooner versus Linky Boy, Tebow, the bitch out west, and those USC skittle shitters. And this past week, a few days ago, they got a commitment from Jasiah Wagoner, who I've already said was going to commit to Oklahoma. And I said this back on June 29th, which is almost a full month ago that I said this. And yet you have these USC skittle shitters in here coming here railing on me because they're saying, hey, wait a minute, he ain't really committed. Well, my sources have told me that he was going to commit. It was just a matter of time and him taking care of a few things, and he was going to commit to Oklahoma. And they haven't steered me wrong many times. Of course, nobody's always right. But, once again, they were right. The 80% of the time they were right was one of these times. Is Jasiah Wagoner does commit to Oklahoma, just like I said back on June 29th. I'll throw some graphs up occasionally here in this video to back this up, because you have people coming in here and basically running their mouth and saying that it ain't true when it actually is true. So just to show that I'm not just throwing shit against the wall, the graphs will be up. Now, he chose Oklahoma over California, Notre Dame, Texas. That's right. The Longhorns were in his top 5. And Oregon. Now, USC, who the fans were bitching about me saying he was committing, that was saying that USC was still in the mix, probably wishing they hadn't said that, because now it makes it look like that he wasn't even considering them as a part of his top 5, which is what happened to another recruit here recently. They had a recruit down in Florida in the Tampa area. His name escapes me now, but he had a top 5, and he said this was his top 5 literally in order. And he was being recruited by USC, and USC was on the top 5, but UCF was. So once again, USC and Linky Boy miss out on yet another defensive player that they coveted, even though now they'll say, well, we wasn't even on his top 5, so he wasn't considering us, so we wasn't recruiting him. That's bullshit. All that means is you didn't make the top 5, USC. He didn't want to come out there and be amongst all the skittle shitters. He wanted to go out there and play for a real defensive-minded coach, a coach that can not only coach defense, but can coach and bring in the players that he needs on offense and delegate accordingly, which is something Lincoln has been unable to do for quite some time. And it's going to end up coming up biting him. Because like I said in a conversation I had with one of my Oklahoma buddies, Bart Weisenhut, Lincoln's problem has always been that he does not respect defense. Now, sure enough, there's offensive genius coaches out there that can coach a team to championships, but it's because they have some kind of at least a modicum of a respect for defense. Like, for example, Steve Spurrier back in the day, and Lane Kiffin here recently, because, Lane Kiffin's daddy was a defensive coordinator, Monty Kiffin. And if you don't have any kind of respect for defense, and if you just concentrate solely on offense, then what you're going to have is a team that tries to outscore everybody. And if you're just trying to go to mid-tier bowls and maybe an occasional New Year's Six bowl, that's fine. But if you're aspiring to win national championships, you've got to have a modicum of a defense. Because what's going to happen is one of these days, you're not going to be able to outscore everybody. They're going to game plan for you well enough to where they can stop you at least 3 or 4 times during the game. And it's going to cause separation because your defense sucks and they can't stop them more than once or twice. And there's that separation. Case in point, Alabama, when they played Oklahoma a few years back in the playoffs, Alabama stopped Oklahoma on their first 4 possessions and scored their first 4 possessions. And they were up 28-0 at the end of the first quarter. And from there forward, they just coasted and ended up winning that game 45-34. Although we do know Nick Saban sort of took his foot off the gas. But this is a video about Oklahoma moving up to number 8 in the rankings now, while USC keeps slip-sliding away. Now, sure enough, they did move up a few spots. I think they moved up to 13th. But Oklahoma has a lot more players coming up. They're supposed to commit to them. USC probably got a few too. But in the end, it's just going to be tick for tack. And if we're doing a continued coverage of comparing how well Brent Venables and Lincoln Riley are doing at their schools because of the situations that took place between these 2 programs recently, then it looks like Brent Venables is going to win round 1 this year in recruiting. Because I think with the recruits they got coming up, that Oklahoma could conceivably end up in the top 5. Now, way back when they were like 36th or 37th in recruiting, you had a few of these USC guys on here, Daniel Bitzer, hate to name any names. They were saying that USC was 36th and there was no way they could make up that kind of ground. Oh, really? Like I said, I think Oklahoma's probably going to end up in the top 5, if not just slightly outside the top 5. I could end up seeing them finishing 6th or 7th in the recruiting when it's all said and done. And USC might approach the top 10, but in the end, it's going to be Brent Venables, round 1 winner. And that's all I got to say about that. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And as always, KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now dismissed.